Great. How many of you wish that there was a way for your gaming fans to discover your fantastic creations that really is built on a super rich description of what the game is, instead of being just narrowed down to a product description or some pitching lines in a press release? How many of you think that the big platforms, and we don't have to mention them, you guys all know them, how many of you think that the big platforms will actually fix the current sort of broken situation in discovery over the next 5 years? Good. So we're on the same page. You guys know this, you live this every day. Great indie titles come out, nobody knows about them unless some journalists happen to find them and write about them or something like that. This is a pain in the niche industry. Part of what makes this industry so great is the creativity in the industry, but that also means that there's a lot of titles released, right? So only Steam has 90,000 new titles each year, but like an average gamer can only, like, on a good day, list 50, right? There will be fans that are deeper than that, but most people, that's the buck stops at like 10, right? And this is a challenge, obviously, a foundational challenge for the industry. How do you make this discovery an adventure again? Gen Z has frankly capitulated. They instead just use proxies. So that will be friends and family. That will be influencers, which they know that are they paid off, but still is better than nothing. And increasingly, they obviously use chatbots, which actually makes this issue a lot worse. This is not the only domain where Gen Z acts like this. They do the same thing when it comes to their investments. They understand that there's too much information in the financial markets to comprehend it, so they just go to friends and family, or they use other proxies. They're also using LLMs more and more frequently there as well, which leads to pretty bad outcomes in terms of investment results. And it would be no different in gaming. Older generations, which includes dinosaurs like myself, we tend to just play more of the same. Again, you know these stats. We don't need to drain this slide. But there is this underlying problem in the industry, right? And what this leads to in terms of industry dynamics is that the current winners just keep on winning. If you can dominate the market by marketing spend, then that's great. It works for you. If you have figured out a way to hack the big platforms, then that might work for you until somebody changes the algorithm. And the only weird path for discovery here where a title might grow popularity is the sort of the wheel of fortune when it comes to virality. And that's the only path where the consumer actually has a say. In these two other ones, we're just forced to digest whatever is presented to us. And this leads to this, unsurprisingly, it sort of leads to this top 10 list tendency in the industry where 90% of the revenue is made with a very, very small share of the titles, right? And this is frankly not great for creators. It's not great for fans either. And there's another industry that is adjacent to the gaming industry in entertainment that sort of have gone through this already. You see the buzz coming out of that industry. Hollywood has, people were aware of the issues in movie production and content production in that sort of medium. But still, despite the fact that all the big studios were aware of it, I happened to live in LA for 4 years and I have friends in this industry, so everybody was aware of the problem, but it was clearly there, but they did nothing about it, really. And then COVID happened and a bunch of other things happened, which just accelerated Hollywood to where they are today, which is frankly an industry that's going through some pretty brutal and painful change. Gaming is much, much bigger than the video medium, right? It is much bigger, but it doesn't mean that gaming is shielded from this type of challenges and the pain that sort of will hit both the industry, is hitting the industry, but also the frustration that consumers have and your gaming fans have. What has happened in the movie industry is where the people started to leave for other forms of entertainment. which has benefited this room, gaming. But that doesn't mean that this will stay forever, right? We all have 24 hours in a day. We have to sleep a few hours. We have to eat. We have to socialize. And then there's a slot there for entertainment. And that's the market you guys are all in. So how do you then, fix it? And of course, there are many platforms that claim that they have made big strides in this space. Speaking outside of the industry again, Netflix just launched a new discovery experience, which sort of looks like TikTok. The only problem is that the underlying algorithm that feeds the experience still sucks. So it just shows you the same things that you already have in your My List, or just like random things. So it doesn't really help you with any content discovery. It's just a nice UI exercise. Steam and others have tried as well, right? And they won't really fix it. That's, I think, pretty clear. What is severe, though, is that large language models are already, as I have already mentioned, they really just make this issue a lot worse. And that's because of how they fundamentally work. Large language models are essentially giving you the most likely answer to a question that you post. And what that translates to is that they will always look at the center of gravity of their training data. And it's that center of gravity of the training data just tells the same story over again, where like these 5 titles are the biggest titles in this particular genre, it will just parrot that back. And furthermore, because large language models are probabilistic systems, they don't really know all the gating titles. They just have seen all this data. They try to give you the most likely answer, which means that they shrink the list length. So if it was like hard to end up on Google's front page with the blue links, it's even worse when it comes to the LLMs. They will often cut the answers down to 3 or 4 options. So whatever you have seen so far in terms of discovery not really working well, it will just get a lot worse with large language models. And better SEO and AO, which is the new buzzword in search, won't really help you. Because if you release a new title that is excellent, it will take, first of all, there's like maybe 9 months before that sort of even makes it into the training data. And then there will still be all of this content in the training data saying that all of these titles are actually much better than your title. Because your title isn't even known. Maybe nobody has even written about it yet. So any type of news, any type of indie titles will always get suppressed in a large language model context. There's no AOO way out of this. You can spend tons of hours on it, you won't be able to fix it. And this is actually a proven issue, a major issue in other verticals, like in medicine. In medicine, there's long established medical practices that work really well, which is great, and you can use LLMs to sort of get an idea for what X might be in terms of a condition. But if there's new science, new knowledge coming out, it will get suppressed. And that's exactly what's happening. So in any field that is based on creativity, that is based on progress, where new things actually matter to the user, to the fans, LLMs just suppress all that. Until a title becomes so big that everybody writes about it, and at that point, it will actually highlight it. So to fix this, you really need to go deeper. You need to go below search, you need to go below the large language models layer. And we need to get the industry to a point where I can get my big titles. Like sometimes you're just in the mood for something very straightforward, that is very familiar, you know it, and that's all you want to have. It's okay. But sometimes you want to go down this path and exploring relevant indie titles, still within the scope of my taste. But get you further out on the long tail, right? And sometimes you really want to go adventurous, and you want to either find new titles that you can brag to your friends about. This is the $5 bottle of wine that nobody has seen before, right? Or you're just into quirky niches, and that's totally fine. What is true is that a large language model will never show you this, and it will never show you this, because of how they work. So you really need to solve this issue on a much more foundational level. And that is what we have done. And that's what we will show you. And we will sort of walk you through how, both what it looks like, how it works, and the entire idea behind the partnership of source of truth. So I just mentioned source of truth. So what is then source of truth? Well, source of truth has two words, source and truth. There's a filler in between. Source is really about making sure that you as an industry, that the creators of the games are the source of the information that is used to sort of match fans with your title. There's no one else that knows your game better than the creators. There's no one else that is better suited to tell that story. I'm a big Godfather nerd and fan. One of my favorite things from the DVD era was that you had these amazing voiceovers by Francis Coppola where he walks through the detail of every shot that was made throughout the entire Godfather movie. So you can listen to that instead of to actually listen to the narrative of the movie. It's that level of depth that we want to empower you as an industry to really drive discovery going forward. Not products, PDPs, not AdWords, not all of that sort of super minimalistic information that everybody has to be pigeonholed into. We really want to make sure that you guys get all the creative freedom to express your titles in the best possible, richest way. And we also want to give you control. This is like foundational of our entire thesis. We don't think that building another storefront or another sort of big platform will solve it. It will just shift. It will shift the power from one platform to another. This needs to be decentralized. It needs to be owned by you. So if you create the best description in the world of your title, it should live with you. It should sit on your like servers that you control, and it should be controlled by you, like the access, right? Large language models today, like as they're trained, people harvest all the data as publicly available. You have no control over how you are presented today. The only thing you know is that whatever information and large language model training sets will contain about your titles will be eventually, well, it will be mashed together in the training process, and then it will, be just shown relative to all other training data. Like I said, the center of gravity, right? So the foundational sort of core of the source part is that you build it, you know how to best describe it, you own this. That should be one foundational tenet of it. Right? And then it's the truth side. The truth side is, well, if you create an open system where the decentralized power of describing titles belongs to the industry, how do you then know that nobody's trying to rig the system or game the system? How do you know that what's actually in the description is true of what the title is, right? That's where Oxize AI, we're one of the partners behind Source of Truth. That's where our AI system comes in. It is built specifically to solve these type of problems. It can understand, it can look at the description that you have. It will look at all of a huge amount of alternative data to make sure that the descriptions that are presented are actually seem to be true. If they aren't true, you will be mashed. If you aren't telling the truth, then you will be suppressed. It's very simple. So you can think about the platform as a system that automatically cleanses the sort of the bad actors out of the system and make sure that correct, true descriptions of your title are being presented and matched to users. And the last thing I want to do is to give control back to the gaming fans. So if you now have excellent, deep descriptions, if you have a system that can make sure that those descriptions are correct, and the last thing I want to add is, of course, just the mechanism through which a user, a gaming fan, can then browse this enormous amount of data in a very intuitive and simple way. Like the one thing that large language models do well is that they remove friction. So this needs to be as easy as any other discovery experience today. So now we're getting to the exciting part, which is the demo. So we have built a platform, we have ingested a lot of data, and we will show you a demo experience that is built on top of the platform today, just so that you can get an idea of what this could look like as an experience. We're not saying this is the experience. We actually look forward to the industry embracing this and building even better discovery experiences on top of the platform. But we need to show you something so that you can get your head around it. So Fiona here will be joining me and doing the demo. And before he jumps into it, I just want to make it clear that the data set currently covers 30,000 titles, which is meaningful to try it out, to play with it, but it's nowhere near what the industry actually has in terms of a gaming catalog. Right? You guys know this. So, maybe your favorite game is not in here. That's most likely, actually. The second thing I want to highlight is that the data right now is data that we've scraped, and then we have amplified it in a synthetic way, which creates a meaningful experience. It's definitely sort of test-worthy, if you will, but it will never be as good as an experience that actually is based on the rich sort of Francis Coppola description that you guys write on around your creative work. So once the system sees that, these matching, the system's like matching capability, plus the way it sort of presents the title will significantly improve. So just keep that in mind as we embark on this demo. Okay, fella.
Great. Okay, so this is Spawner, Oxide's app for games discovery, built on top of the Source of Truth platform. So when you open it up for the first time, you're greeted with a bit of a tasting menu of what you can access through this system. So these are very open-ended searches, basically, for video games. That you can't really do in traditional search engines or through platforms like Steam. And this is mostly to get your appetite for making your own searches. So these aren't really appealing to me here. I'm not seeing anything that sparks my interest. So luckily we have a few more examples to show you how it works. Let's see. How do I go back? Anders, I don't know iPhone. Hur stänger jag tangentbordet? Vadå var det typ? Jag bara stänga tangentbordet.
Ja.
Just. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so here we have some example queries to just show you how it works. So popular cozy RPG games, that sounds interesting to me. And you presented with a little review of what you can find in this query. So Kingdom Hearts, that sounds cozy to me. So I can save this to my feed, and if I ever feel like I'm bored of these titles, I can just come back another day, and it should be updated with new information based on what goes out, and if descriptions are updated, maybe. But looking at these, maybe I'm thinking more along the lines of something, a challenging RPG. So we could try searching for like mechanically deep RPG instead, and see what that brings us. Yeah, this sounds more along my tastes, if I'm being honest. So we'll save that as well. And maybe my sister is talking about some new life sim game that she heard about in the news, but she can't remember the name of it. So life sims in news outlets could also be a good query. Yeah, this seems to be along her taste as well. I know she likes Unpacking, a great game, by the way. And my brother, he is really into roguelikes right now. He's playing Slay the Spire 2, and it has a really beautiful art style with digital art. So visually distinct roguelikes could also be an interesting query. Yeah, this really seems up his alley. But this is just a short list of things in that jar now. But we have one more feature to help you on your discovery journey to find games that really no one else is finding. And that is this slider that really maps to this graph we had before, where a lot of titles are getting all the attention and all the revenue, and then it tapers off and there's no attention given here, and really hard to find titles. So maybe sometimes I just want to see what everyone else is playing. Then I can just pull this to the left, and I see Sims 4 down there, and I see Slay the Spire 2, as I mentioned, and Pokemon Pokopia I've heard good things about. But I don't really need an app to find these titles. Neo and Elden Ring, yeah, those are on the front page of Steam every day, so not really interesting. What gets really interesting is when you pull it the other way to see the obscure stuff, like Let 'Em Cook. I've never heard of this. But it still sounds like something I would enjoy, action roguelike. I'm gonna save that to my bookmarks, actually. And this game also, maybe I'll look at Steam, what this is about. So this is a game with 11 reviews, positive reviews, costs €3, but I've never heard of it. That's really promising. How do I go back? How do I go back? Oh, okay, I found it. Sorry. So yeah, these games will probably be buried in the Steam algorithm, because it released 7 years ago. It's got 11 reviews, but it's still a positive review game. But through other systems, this just would be impossible to find. So yeah, back to Aleš for a bit behind the scenes.
Cool. Thanks, Phil. Let's just turn off the screen sharing here.
Okay, so what was it really that Fiala just showed you?
So it's a discovery experience that in some ways looks very similar to any other discovery experience, right? There's a bunch of cards. But the question is, like, how did the system actually show you what it showed you? Again, going back to the point I made on Netflix, they launched a new great way of discovering movies, which is a TikTok-looking UI, but the algorithm is still the same thing. Like, it has not changed. So fundamentally, it is still as broken as it was yesterday, now only with some lipstick on it, right? What Fiala showed you is this, and I will step through it so that you can track what's going on here, really. So first of all, you had the rich descriptions, which ideally are not coming from us in the future. We have no plan of becoming the best database for gaming descriptions. The gaming descriptions should come from you, the content creators, the industry. You guys know how to best describe your games, and the richer, the better. You should control these descriptions, which is why we have stood up a nonprofit. So the registry for how to access these descriptions is going to happen through a no-profit, just very much like DNS works today. It's a mechanism that is proven to last for 4 decades, so it should work for gaming as well. And we're actually working on getting some really heavy industry participants into the sort of advisory board or the oversight committee for this no-profit. Like, we really want this to be a true non-profit that sits on the control of who gets to access this information. That's not us. That's going to be you represented somehow. So now you have these rich descriptions. And what happened then is that our system looked at the descriptions. It looked at a bunch of alternative public data sources to make sure that what you stated seems to be true, that other players agree, that commentators agree, etc., etc. Once that truth is established and verified, we then surface it. So the question is, like, how is it surfaced? As you might recall, I told you that large language models, they take all the training data, they collapse it first, so it sort of gets squished together, and then they will show the user whatever happens to be the highest sort of, the most written about thing, because that is, the most likely answer to your question according to how those type of systems are defined. This system and the approach that we're proposing is 100% meritocratic, which means that if I, as a user, have expressed an intention, just like Fjolar did, now he showed you some very basic examples, but you can, of course, write a much richer description of what exactly you want the system to surface. So if I, as a user, have put in my individual intention, this is what I want you to show me, the system will look at all the titles at the same time. No training data, no 9 months lag. It will look at all the titles at the same time, and it will say, this, and this are great matches versus that user's intent. In terms of taste, in terms of theme. The second thing you saw was Fjolar moving you from the obvious top 10 titles out on the tail. And that is sort of the how adventurous I want to be slider, if you will. Because we as human beings, we have tastes. The tastes are sometimes informed, sometimes we expand our tastes. But in general, we sort of know who we are. We know roughly what we like. But the nude in terms of if I'm up for something very obvious, or if I'm actually curious, I want to have some fun and explore something that's totally unknown, that changes quite a lot. Which is why we actually literally turn it into a slider, because one day you might want to have the others ones, and the next day you might want to, 5 hours later you want to have something obscure. And that's the control we give the user, right? Like you can express your intent to the system in a very natural way. It will immediately start to look for things that match you, but we'll also give them the power on where on the long tail we want to be. You want to see in the titles only? Great, that's your setting. And that's the power I want to bring back to GamingFast, and this is the power I want to bring back to the industry. You guys should control the titles, the descriptions. The descriptions should be matched based on a meritocratic basis, not on some kind of 9 months old training data. A lot of people wrote about this title basis. That is just perpetuating the current discovery problem in the industry. And then that's the platform essentially. And then what you saw was actually just the demo apps that Oxide has built, which is just one example of what this could look like. We actually want to encourage you guys to go home and think, well, what your discovery experience look like, knowing that there's a platform that you can do this with. We expect some of the big platforms to actually start working with us to build their own native discovery experiences that are powered by this platform. So we're not saying that's the only way to do discovery. We're just showing you an example. And we encourage you to actually try it for yourself. We want you to begin this adventure together with us. So try it. It's self-explanatory. Try it yourself. Remember the limitations of the data set. This is not an honest and fair representation of what the industry could do. You could do so much more with really rich titles, with the title descriptions. And we want to encourage you to engage with us because discovery really is fundamentally broken. I think there's no doubt about that. And when you have a big void in a market, somebody will come in and fill that void. And we think that it's much better is that someone is actually a player that is a platform for the industry to build on, and that actually gives you more control back rather than further sort of cements control or air. So the last thing we want to do is to encourage you to reach out to us. If you have any opinions about this, if you have any thoughts about this, if you have ideas for how to make this better, if you want to talk to us about how to get engaged, if you want to try out what a super rich description, what that would work like, even if you essentially take a gaming development document and turn that into your press releases into a description, just reach out to us because we really want this to be cross industry initiatives. And that sort of brings me to my last point, which is that Source of Truth is a partnership. It started as a partnership by Eric, sitting in the back, the founder of Lore Game and Oxide. Eric knows you guys. He knows the industry. He sees your pain on a daily basis. The Oxide team, we're just gaming nerds, so we feel the pain on a daily basis. But we also happen to sit on a technology and a platform that could actually be a part of the solution. So we decided to team up and to literally turn it into a partnership. And that's because we think that the only way to fix this is through an industry-wide partnership. It's not through one platform dominating over another platform. Like, that's not going to solve this. It's just going to perpetuate some other issue. So with that, we're the source of truth. Reach out to us, try the experience, remember the caveats, help make it better.
You mentioned the film industry before. You mentioned the film industry before. Yeah. So I'm a musician, so I feel like I'm going through the same thing. It's the same thing as Hollywood, right? All creative industries are. Yeah. So I'm wondering, in film and in music, you see anyone else doing a similar thing that you are doing?
No one else is doing exactly this. They don't have the platform to do it. This could obviously be applied in all of these industries. If there is one shout out that I would want to do, it's probably to Spotify, who is the actor in the music industry that is taking it most seriously to sort of figure out how do we extend your taste, how do we inject more sort of niche, more alternative music into what is your sort of the taste that you signal to us by the playlist as such that you have. So, and they actually have spent a lot of time and money. Like they acquired a company in 2014 for this specific purpose, and have worked on this problem. We know that we can easily beat their algorithms when it comes to this with our platform. So it's really sort of the next generation ability to help people discover. But that is the player that I would say in music that has at least tried to take this challenge seriously and has tried to make meaningful progress towards like addressing it. Right?
And if I may ask one more question, can you search for regions like Skåne or like Sweden or like?
Yes, I mean you can add that to your descriptions. It's a natural language-based description. So okay, one of the non-obvious things with the demo here is that to make the demo clear, Fiala sort of wrote in pretty generic descriptions, right? Like in my case, I would like racing games or something like that. And then what happens is that the shortlist that the system creates is still pretty long, and then you can sort of navigate the shortlist through the slider, right? That's one way of interacting with this discovery experience. Another one is to write a much more specific sort of search task, right? I'm interested in this, and this, and this. And then it create a much more specific card. And of course, that will generate a list that is a lot shorter. And then maybe there isn't really a lot of, maybe that already is the long tail. And so it really, how you use it as a user really is up to you. And at any given point in time, we expect people to have different types of configurations for how they want their discovery experience to work, right? Oh, sorry. Yep.
Hi. So I think I will actually start from some question. We talk about the discoverability being broken, but my question is that is it broken on the player side? Because I think if we look at Spawner or any other app, I think most of the players right now have absolutely more game and higher backlog on their Steam account than they are able to play. So no question is that, of course, if we were saying that I think the success, especially on the Funner app, depends on how many actual users there are that seem to have a problem to actually discover the game. My question on the way goes that, of course, we're on the publishing at the developer side. We try to fix their descriptions, fix the Steam capsules, tags, everything, pretty much go along those lines. But the real question is that players don't really see that problem. They see 19,000 games released a year. They have more games to play than ever. So in a way, my question is that, as you said, like Spawn is just one touch point. But my question is that, let's say, if you have, 200 300,000 users that are looking for the game. That's just a fraction of Steam users. So overall, I would say, what's the probably long-term goal to implement this potentially, let's say, in Steam, that instead of just putting the tags that I select rather than this A model, and whether they would not be able to kind of do it on their side if they see it. And you said that maybe they don't. But my question, as I said, like more goes in a way, do you have a data that you maybe check that discoverability is an issue on the player side, that they would be pretty much adopting the app to start games differently?
Yes, I think there's a decent amount of research done by ourselves, but also by other people saying that discovery is an issue. Now,
we still fill our time. So in terms of hours played,
it might not be perceived as an issue because somebody is getting the eyeballs and their attention, right? Some title is winning in this, right? Because of the finite amount of time that we have. But that doesn't mean that people are happy with the experience, or that they really think that playing the same titles over and over again, which older generations seem to be doing, is exactly what they want, right? It's the same. So it is. I think there for sure is consumers' angle to it, where it's like increasingly harder to find anything relevant, to be honest, across all of entertainment. And then, of course, that is compounded by the industry issue, right? Because you're all competing for the attention in a space which is already highly skewed towards the existing winners, right? Now, it's the only food they serve out here is meatballs, and I'm really hungry. I will have meatballs. Is that a life and death situation for me? No. Would I love there to be something that is more in line with what I want to eat? Yes. And I think that's more the tension on the consumer side, right? So, and then of course, the Hollywood sort of analogy here is that if an entertainment vertical is sort of broken to a certain extent, then at some point the tension is shifting to another entertainment vertical, right? And I think gaming is much bigger, it's more shielded, but it doesn't mean that you are immune to sort of a poor discovery experience. At the end of the day, it still comes down to how we use our time.
So time is over now, but we'll do one last question.
Yes. Thanks. I actually have two. Maybe we can do them quickly. Have you opened up some kind of registry for us to get your platform to index our game description? Is that available? Yeah, so one of it's going to become available soon. So one of the things I left out for the sake of time is this box. So we actually want to make it very easy and convenient for you as an industry to take content that you already have and sort of prep it in a format that works really well with the platform with a minimal effort. We want you guys to do it because we want you guys to control it. It should live on your servers. This is just a pointer, right? But we want to make it easy for you. Like the last thing you want to do is get another tax form to fill out. Like that's not what we're trying to do. Yeah.
And the second one, are you thinking of this limited to release games or also games that are coming in 1 year or?
To introduce new titles here?
Yeah. I have a game releasing next year. Can we sort of put it in this platform to get discovery already now through your system?
That's a very good question. I think we should think a little bit more about it. Right now, the system only, what the truth is what's actually out there. But we can, that's the thing to discuss with the industry is that how long do you want the window to be? Is it like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? Or do you actually only want to show titles that you can access right now? And I think that's an excellent question for us to discuss. Like it's from a system point of view, it would just mean that you would put in a description here that will be coming soon, and the date would tell the system that it's not live yet. So it's not technically complicated, it's more of a philosophical question. Thanks.
With DDS,